Is it better to see me now?
I mean, I'm looking at you. I'm glad that you probably got dressed for this and put a hat on.
No, the only thing I did was put a hat on.
No. Normally when I call you and on FaceTime, you don't even have a shirt on.
When I'm editing at home, I never have almost any clothes on. I mean, at least I do have some gym shorts usually, but
I never get to see those gym shorts, Steven.
I think FaceTiming someone is so invasive too. I'm usually like half naked, and I see a FaceTime from Jared. I'm like, damn it.
I never FaceTime anyone, not even Madeline K.
You FaceTime me a decent amount. It's usually to show like a new product or something in the mail.
Yeah, I'm not going to FaceTime you just to talk. You know, I can't stand the people that walk. The people that walk. No, I have to show you something, Steven, and it's not in my pants. But oh shit, I didn't fill up water. Damn it, Steven. I didn't fill up any water, and it's going to get hot in here. Oh, Steven's got Steven, they can't see. They're not watching video, remember? Gargle it. Gargle it.
No, I'm good.
No, like WNBC.
No, I'm not.
Hey guys, Jared Polin Frono's photo, and you are
Steven.
He's Steven.
Photo.
Welcome back to another RAWtalk reboot episode. I don't know that I'm gonna like keep saying reboot episode, but it's episode number 3 as we continue on our long trek to 69 and once, as Todd used to say. Yeah. And that's why Todd is no longer with us. Rest in power. Jeez. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I said that actually in the latest Photo News Fix. I'm like, I hate when people say rest in power as if those fucking people have a clue that they're dead. And I think it's an unpopular thing to say. I think people think it but do not say it. You know, when they're like rest in peace. I'm like, what peace? How are they getting peace? They're dead. Sorry, this is me, Steven. It's like when they said like your mom, oh, now she's resting easy now. No, she's fucking dead. She's
I mean, what
dead.
do you want them to say?
Nothing. Just don't
rest in hell.
Just don't. No, you're not resting. You're fucking dead. They're died. So just don't beat around the bush. It's
everybody
like
takes death differently, though.
I know, but it's this beating around the bush, like you have to. That word that I'm not allowed to say, or the people will get upset with me, where you have to beat around the bush to single foot with a P word.
I know what you're trying to say.
P-foot around the whole...
Why can't you say that?
What, pussyfoot?
There you go.
Well, pussyfooting, since we're going there, Steven, already, pussyfooting has to do with cats pussyfooting around quietly, like pussyfooting around the discussion. So I like when it's just straightforward, and I don't like when people say rest in power. Rest in power to me is just one of those things. It's like... does that give you solace? Does that help you out? And resting in power, anyway, I think it makes people feel better, but I don't say it. I don't believe in RIP. Anyway, this wasn't in the notes that I gave you, Steven. Why did you bring this up?
I'm pretty sure I didn't.
But, you know, right before I went on, I had to turn off my air because it's going to get super hot in here because it's 88 degrees out. And we could be going back to the future, and we don't want the air on because it's going to make a lot of noise. But I was thinking, I was in the bathroom getting ready for this episode by putting on my makeup because that's what I was doing in the bathroom for the video that people can't see. And since I just got back from Chicago, which we're going to talk about in a minute, amongst things to talk about the week, I didn't take my backup for... what do they call this? Time machine. I didn't take my time machine backup, but I started doing a time machine backup because SanDisk sent us a bunch of goodies. Now, we're not sponsored by SanDisk yet, but the goal is to talk about it enough so that they're like, oh, we want to sponsor you. We want to send you more stuff. And anyway, they sent us this G-Tech, which owns SanDisk owns G-Tech now, G-Drive. And this is a armor lock where you have to actually unlock it with an app, which I'm not a fan because I don't care about the encryption, but I know other people do. The point I'm bringing up is I plugged it in to my computer when I got here and I hit backup, and within minutes it was already done backing up whatever was on my desktop that changed. I just think that's a cool thing. It's just so fast. The whole point I'm saying this is because these SSDs, why am I holding up to the camera? Steven, they can't see. I guess I'm just showing you. You can see it because Steven has a camera today.
I mean, the mind-blowing part is the transfer rate on those, what's it, 2,800 megabytes a second or 29?
This particular one is the last generation, so it's 1,000.
Oh, 1,000, okay.
And the new one that came in the mail right before I left is 2,800.
That's the one I'm talking about.
I'll be honest with you, I love those portable SSD, the Pro
V2s, yeah.
the Pro V2 4 terabyte or 2 terabyte. I know they're a little more
right
expensive.
In your pocket,
Oh,
super
they
light,
do.
super tiny.
Great for traveling. What else fits
yeah.
in your pocket that's super light and super tiny, Steven?
You tell me.
I've never been in your pockets. Oh, you were shaking your head. Anyway, people, you can't see because that brings up that discussion. We keep getting a lot of messages to the text line, which, Steven, go ahead and tell everybody the text number.
I don't know.
I know, that's why I said
Got
it.
me.
I needed extra time.
I don't text that number.
I needed extra time to pull it out from the pile.
I go directly to the source, Jared Polin.
Yeah, 313-710-9729. It's 313-710-9729. That's where people can send me text messages, questions for the next episode, hashtag, which I don't even know if I can still search it because I did.
Did you try?
I tried, but I maybe need to dive in a little deeper to see if I'm doing something wrong in the search. This would be hashtag RAWtalk, just RAWtalk 3. RAWtalk, the number 3, and any feedback that you have from anything that we ask here. I did get a bunch of people that said hashtag Funfetti sucks because I brought that up last time. So that was nice to read. But yeah, 313-710-9729 is where you can text us and give us some thoughts and prayers. So I think people are getting a little confused when I say, would you rather this, be a audio podcast, or would you watch the video podcast, or how do you watch podcasts? Thinking that if we did a video podcast, that would mean we wouldn't put it up as audio. And that's not the case whatsoever. Even from day one, when I did audio only and then within a few episodes did video, the audio always came out first. And so if we were to do video podcast again, even when we did RAWtalk all those years, we still put the audio out for people who wanted to listen. Because I don't want to sit and watch a podcast on YouTube, but there are people that will sit in front of their TV and consume podcasts. I'm making a note for my brother. Jason TV. My dad wants to get my brother, he doesn't listen to my podcasts, a Father's Day gift. And he's like, why don't I buy him a new TV? Because I was at my brother's house a little while ago and I thought the sun was shining a spot on the TV. And then I went up to it and I put my hand in front of it to see if it was the sun. No, there's like a silver dollar or half dollar.
Just a dead spot?
No, that's like extra vibrant. It's extra vibrant, so
it's
everything else around is darker. Yeah, it was kind of weird. And I said something to him. He's like, I always thought the sun was shining on it. And I was like, oh, sorry. He's like, now
Just
that you
happened to be the same spot all day, even at nighttime. It's weird.
He's like, now that you point it out, I see it. But that TV owes him nothing because he got that TV when he moved into Levittown in like 2006 or something. It's a Samsung that has lasted a long time.
I mean, you're pushing close to 20 years at that point.
Long time. It's still good TV. It gets the job done.
It was probably like $8,000 back then.
It wasn't much. It wasn't a ton. I mean, yeah,
What
it was probably, it's a 50-inch, so it was probably closer to $2,000.
$2,000,
and then
yeah.
His friend was working at Circuit City when they were in business, so that's how old it is. And he's like, you should buy the damage protection. And my brother's like, I'm not spending another $1,000 for 5 years of coverage. And I still don't recommend that anybody does that. So. What have you? I mean,
nowadays you buy a TV for $200 and you can get like an 80-inch. It might not be the best, but
I would never.
Even the TVs we bought for the factory. What did we buy? Samsung a 60 and a.
I bought
50
I think I bought
65
a
and a 50.
45 and a 50, a 40 and a 50. I think we went smaller on one, so I think it was 40.
And it was $500, and we're talking a couple years back.
Yeah, this was pre-pandemic.
5 years ago, 4 years ago.
But 3.5, 4 years ago. Yeah, it was a purchase at the end of the year. Like, I need some tax write-offs, which I still hate that discussion about tax write-offs. I hate that. People are like, I need a tax write-off. Steven, tell me again.
It's a write-off.
It's a write-off.
It's a write-off. It's just a write-off. It's a write-off.
Yeah, the write-off.
But what's a write-off, Jared? I don't know. It's a write-off.
It's where you buy stuff and then they give you money back.
How do they do that? It's a write-off.
Yeah, so I hate that whole mentality of I need a write-off because it's still money out of my pocket. And yeah, anyway, I like money in my pocket or in Steven's pocket for that matter. Steven, congratulations.
Yes.
You're getting a raise.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Oh, you want another one?
Sure, why not? Just keep them coming, man.
Well, let me
like maybe monthly raises.
I'm going to do a review.
Let's make them weekly.
I'm going to do a review of your job lately, and we'll see. We're going to have a review. It's going to be an independent third-party review conducted by me and Nancy, our HR person.
Your review is going to be, Steven, you're doing a good job, and here's a raise. That's it.
Oh,
Review
are you
done.
Are you trying to use the force on me? Yeah. So anyway,
Give Steven a raise.
the people that were missing the point is that if we did do video again, you would of course still have the option of listening to this as audio.
Of course.
Steven, before we get into Chicago,
Chi-town.
what'd you do while I was away for 2 days?
Work-wise?
Well, I don't know. I didn't even call you, did I?
Oh, I did absolutely nothing.
Oh.
I just sat in my boxers and watched TV all day.
Steven's review. Negative review, minus 10 points, doing nothing while Jared's away.
Well, we've got a couple of things we can't talk about that I was prepping for, along with going back to the Bernie documentary, which I rarely get to ever touch. And I will say it's a mind fuck to jump back into a major project like that after you haven't touched it for months.
What project?
And this is the Bernie documentary.
You jumped back into that? I was unaware. How's it going?
It's going well, but the hardest part is trying to jump back into it after not touching it for a very long time. Let's just say that. And for people that don't realize, no, I'm not working on this thing every day. I'm usually working on Fro branded things 99% of the time, whether that's videos coming out this week or next week or future NDA projects, stuff like that, which sprinkle that into the mix this week as well. There are things coming out that we had to work on as well. And I'm trying to prep for vacation. That's also the hardest part. So I'm trying to get all of that done before I leave next Thursday. You're going to have so much fun when I'm gone.
Tell your wife you need to carve out like an hour to do the podcast because that's what pays for your honeymoon. You know what paid for your honeymoon, Steven? My gift. That was the biggest gift.
Your gift was very generous, I will say.
Yeah, ever. Biggest gift ever. 25,000 pennies.
But we should be able to squeeze in the podcast right before I leave, so hopefully we'll record that on Wednesday of next week to be released on Friday. Now, the following week, obviously, I'm not going to be here, so I don't know what we're going to do about that, whether we're going to skip it for, say, 4th of July holiday weekend, or if you're going to have a guest of some sort. I don't know what you want to do.
Can I still send you the raw audio for you to tweak it?
No,
from the hotel room?
My computer. No.
You're not taking your computer? What if something happens, Steven?
Why would I bring my computer?
I don't know. You don't need your computer, but what if I have to talk to you about something or something?
I'm on my honeymoon.
Yeah,
I plan on not working.
I don't believe in honeymoons or vacations. Nancy, check mark.
It's the 1 or 2 weeks a year that I ask to not be working.
I usually leave you alone. I've been leaving you alone lately when you go away.
Yeah, you're pretty good.
I just see that it's bad for me because I don't know. I don't know what to do when Steven's away because then I have to do other stuff like figure out what to do with my life.
Yeah,
I'll probably set up some shoots. Honestly I don't know what the hell I'll do. Maybe I'll write some scripts, which I won't actually write, but
yeah, I know we're gonna have a couple videos in the can to be edited for Dan while I'm gone. So that's always the hardest thing for me to figure out when I'm on vacation, to try and keep him busy, to try and manage everything for the most part, and to try and keep you busy. What can you work on while I'm gone?
Yeah, Steven likes to try and tell me what to do.
Well, because you ask me what you should be doing, and then I tell you what you should be doing, and then you say, no, I don't feel like doing that.
Hey, that's right, and Nancy.
It's a constant loop over and over.
It hasn't been. It really hasn't been bad. I've been a heck of a lot better.
But with you, we've discussed this I think before. But you need to want to do something on your own. It's very hard for me to try and push you towards something unless it has to be done.
Oh, I'm good under pressure. Like when it's
under pressure, yes.
When it's time to be done, it's like, here's your deadline. You've got to do this. I'm like, yeah, all right, a challenge. Here we go.
Yeah, and then I have a day and a half to edit it.
And if it's open ended, I'm like, meh. Yeah. Well, I mean, I am writing the R3 1 year later, and it's mostly written. I think I've got how many words?
And that would be great to get that in the can before we leave. Something to give to Dan to chip away at.
Yeah, I have to remind myself to write the worst thing. I'm writing it right now. The worst thing about the Canon R system. What is it, Steven?
That you can't record your EVF?
The fucking back caps.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's the worst thing.
Worst thing ever. Back caps. Pieces of shit. For those who don't know, who haven't used the RF system, Canon has this piece of plastic that's in the cap on the inside. I don't know if this is like a lawsuit preventative thing because someone owns the rights to a lens cap design, but you have to line it up the perfect way on the back of the lens in order to get it tight.
You have to line up the dots perfectly.
Which is, I don't want to do that when I'm changing lenses. I want to do it quickly.
When, pre-pandemic, when I was still photographing concerts, it was such a pain in the ass to quickly, literally in between songs, try and switch and try and put the back cap on perfectly. I would spend an extra 10 seconds trying to fit it on the right way, and eventually I just wouldn't even put the caps on. And then in the end, they start getting dirty. Because,
or they fall off when you pick up your bag, and you're like, why is the lens cap not on? So Canon, get your shit together and give us a new fucking cap. Someone said that you could cut out the inside.
You can. That's the workaround trick.
Why don't we do that?
That's essentially how their EF caps are. You really don't have to put it on exactly perfect. You can just keep spinning it, and eventually it'll go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the RF, they're definitely a pain in the ass. I'm sure they're more sealed properly, on the back of the EF lens. The caps could definitely come off, but...
No.
This is why we don't do video, Jared.
Yeah, well, this video... So you guys can't see what Steven was just doing. Steven was doing to his microphone. And by Steven, I mean me. All right, so I got off topic, as I normally tend to do.
That's weird.
I was in Chicago. I landed in Philly at 11 a.m. We had an 8:35 flight. It's only an hour and 40-minute flight home, and there's an hour change, so we're an hour later than I was in Chicago. So why'd I go to Chicago? My brother, a couple weeks ago, said a client of his said, hey, my home office is in Chicago. I'll be flying into town. We got a couple of tickets to go to Cubs game. Do you want to go? He said that to my brother. So my brother's like, Jared, you've got a pass that makes you feel special, that you can go into any stadium and go, do you want to go to Chicago with me? And I was like, sure, I'll go. I'll shoot 2 Cubs games. And that's exactly what I did. Now, I went with my brother to Chicago. We shared a king-size bed because that's all they had in the hotel.
That's not bad. King size is huge.
No, king size is huge. That's why I got it for my house, so that when girls are sleeping over, I'm like, stay away from me. Don't touch me.
Did you ever hear that Death Cab for Cutie song?
Sing
Brothers
it.
on a hotel bed.
Yeah, keep going, Steven. Keep going.
That's all I got. That's the chorus. That's all I got.
It's brothers on a hotel bed.
Like brothers on a hotel bed.
Oh, that's what they're saying in that song?
Yeah.
What's the name of that song?
I thought it's called like Brothers on a Hotel Bed.
Let me look this up. Let's see. Brothers on it is.
Right? Yeah.
Dude. I never knew that's what he was saying.
It's a good song.
People, Brothers on a Hotel Bed. It's so slow. It's one of those ones that you want to slit your wrists to.
Oh, dude, Death Cab, so good.
I love Death Cab. I shot Death Cab.
Me too, I do.
So the craziest thing was, it was and I'll get back to my story, Rolling Stone assignment back in the day shooting film. It was at the Trocadero. It was Death Cab co-headlining with Ben Queller, which, if you've never heard Ben Queller, there's some good early like poppy, folky Ben Queller-y shit where he sits at the piano and he sings like, I'm just a penny on a train track waiting for my train to come. I don't know, some weird shit. I actually like poppy shit. So he was the headliner that night, and this band called Death Cab was opening, and this is an 800-seat venue back in like 99. No, would have been early 2000s, because
early 2000s.
I wasn't in high school shooting concerts, so that's what it was. Anyway, I shot that show, and a couple of the Ben Queller photos went in Rolling Stone, because that's who I was there to photograph. I'm like, who's this bullshit opening act? Death Cab for Cutie.
And now look at Death Cab. They're one of the
Seattle
biggest rock bands
losers.
out there.
I do like Death Cab.
I do like them, and their new stuff's really good. Roman Candles, check it out.
Okay. Chicago. So flew to Chicago with my brother. Easy flight from Philly to go to 2 games. And the first game was scheduled for 7:05 on Monday, and then tornado warnings blew through the city. I've never seen a storm like this, because you look at the radar, it's different here. We've got straight line thunderstorms, which are ones that are just like up the coast. It's literally a straight line. This was a supercell, like of fucking red, over the dot of Chicago on the map. And watching this storm and listening to the thunder, like, it was flashbangs. It was instant flashbangs.
I mean, they got Lake Michigan right there. I'm sure it fuels up every time it passes that.
Well, what they told me,
loads on Chicago.
Yeah, but what the guy said is that usually if a storm's coming over the lake dissipates it. Because,
really?
Yeah, and usually after a storm, it sucks out all the heat. Well, it was 77 degrees at the game with like 100% humidity, so it felt like 100 degrees
down there. It
usually
kills the humidity.
Yeah,
but
it didn't. So what I want to talk about is what I chose to take into Chicago, take to Chicago with me camera-wise, because this was a personal shoot. This is me just going out and shooting. I went with the R3. I took a 28 to 70 f2. I took the 70 to 200 2.8. I took the 85 1.2 all RF, and then Steven and I had a little debate. Do I take the 11 to 24 f4 or the 14 to 35 f4? As much as I wanted to take the 14 because it's lighter and newer,
yeah.
That 11 millimeters gave me
crazy wide angle.
Did you see it? Did I send you the pictures?
No. That's what 11 millimeters does.
Well, did you see me I uploaded them to the Dropbox, Steven.
I didn't look at all of them.
Oh, because there weren't that many, but I went out to center field at Wrigley Field, where I guess some of the other photographers aren't allowed to go. I just went.
Were you allowed?
I actually asked the team photographer, who wasn't there that day because he just had a baby a few days before, but I asked him where I can go. I'm like, can I go do this? And he said yes. So I was told yes, and I'm nice, of course, and I go around. I talk to the security people, but this was out in the ushers. I was out in deep center field up in the bleachers, and I walked all the way up those stairs to where the I guess there's a scoreboard there, but I have on the right and the left, board to board, the entire stadium. And it's a night shot. I would have preferred during the day. I probably could have gone up there yesterday because we got there earlier. The thing was, the crowd, it wasn't a big crowd. So if there's not a big crowd, it kind of looks like shit.
You don't want to show an empty stadium.
Yeah, but this was awesome from a distance. I used the R3, and I used all those lenses.
And there's really nothing. So you were fully at 11 millimeters.
I was fully at 11 millimeters.
Because there's really nothing else you could use unless you went with the 8 to 15 fisheye. But at that point, you're looking at not really rectilinear. You're looking at more circular fisheye, even at 11 millimeters.
The 11 millimeter
the frame.
I'm going to hold it up to the screen for you to look at unless you want to pull up the Dropbox link that I sent you.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can't look at that because we're not doing video right meow. But isn't that pretty fucking cool, Steven?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I do like the crowd in there too and everything.
That's pretty insane.
There's zero lights on the crowd, huh?
Well, they have
no lighting.
They have very little light in the outfield. Look, they didn't have lights until the 90s.
Wow.
You know, it was a big thing. All their games were played during the day. The problem would be if your games are played during the day when it comes to money, and if you make the playoffs? Yep. If you make the playoffs, the Major League Sports won't be happy that your game starts at 1 o'clock on a Thursday or a Tuesday or a Friday or a Saturday. They're like, we can't get primetime TV. We're not going to be able to sell ads as much. So anyway,
I'm sure fans aren't happy about watching that midday too during the workday.
You know, I'm driving home from the airport in an Uber today, and I'm like, why is everything backed up on Patterson and Broad and Patterson exit? I look, this is at 12 o'clock now. And I'm like, oh, the Phillies play at 1:05. I'm like, Jay, you want to go to my brother? I'm like, you want to go to the Phillies game now? And I was like, no, I don't.
Can you get him in?
No, I can't get him in.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But you know who did get in on his own?
Mr. Manny Ortiz.
Manuel Ortiz.
Oh, Manuel.
So he was able to get a pass through the same person that I was able to get a pass from, and this was the first time.
So where's my pass?
You're not like a YouTuber.
I'm not cool enough,
Steven. If we really needed to, I could ask the person, and I think he would make it happen.
I mean, you do really need to. I need a pass.
Oh, you need a pass?
I absolutely need a pass.
Can I just say that baseball is so fucking boring? I still have not gotten past.
It is.
We left on Monday at the 7th inning stretch.
I'm not really a sports guy in general, but yeah, sitting through a baseball game is rough. Usually if I went, I wouldn't go in until like the second or third inning.
Oh, well, I get there, so I like getting there early. Now, I couldn't get there early for batting practice during the rainstorm, which was actually better that it rained because we had dinner. We had like a 5 o'clock dinner, and we got there at 7 when it was right when the game was supposed to start, but they had it all delayed and because the field was covered for a while. But it's kind of cool. What I like anyway. So gear, that's what I took. R3, those lenses. Gear-wise, what I like about going to these other stadiums is, one, you get to go to other stadiums. 2, you get the challenge of finding new spots to shoot from, and you get to talk to these other photographers. Because what was cool is a lot of people came up to me and were like, I bought this camera because of you, or I've been watching your stuff since so-and-so. And it's really cool to be out. And when I went out on the field in Wrigley, it was like, holy shit, the field is like no foul territory. Unlike every other stadium, there's no foul territory, and it's right there. The shooting areas, which I put up on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, that's where I put up a lot of Insta stories from these places. It's Jared Polin on Instagram. you're squeezed in, but you have a pretty cool spot.
I mean, you're almost on the field at that point.
I'm under the field technically.
Yeah.
I'm 4 feet under because they dug it down. It's like the dugout depth, and you're standing under the ground, which gives you an opportunity to shoot up at players
Cool for,
walking
like,
past you.
the hero shot, you know?
The hero shot, yeah. So what I've also held off on doing is sending Matt, the team photographer from the Cubs, I've held off on sending him any of the pictures I took because I want him to do a critique of my work from his stadium, and I'm going to have the other sports photographer out in San Francisco critique my work too, and these are going to be for videos that I'll put on YouTube so I get content out of it, because it's interesting to have a pro critique my stuff.
I love when people critique you.
Oh, well, I already had...
You take it so well.
I took it fine, Steven.
Unless they have something to say about it.
It depends. We'll have a discussion about it, and we can agree or not agree. Like, there's certain things I'm like, okay, that totally makes sense because that's what you do every day. But there's also things where I actually had
You're
Matt...
like, no, you're wrong.
I never say they're wrong, but I had Matt... He looked at some of my other stuff while we talked on the phone when I was calling him about where to shoot from his stadium, and he looked at some of the images, and one was we did for the review for the... Was it the 14 to 35? Did we put that out yet?
It's not out yet.
Okay. Anyway,
it's being edited currently.
I shot that at the Phillies, and there was like a basket of baseballs for batting practice, and I put the balls off to the right-hand side, and got close at 14 and at 35 to see what the background would look like. And in one of them, I left the stadium out of focus in the background so you had some context. And he's like, well, I don't like the positioning of the balls. Generally, I like to put them here. And then I explained to him that this was for a review, but also from a contextual standpoint, if it was just a picture of balls in a bucket or in a bag thing, that could be taken on any sandlot, on any corner, in any backyard, whereas I left the background this way so that you could have context of where you were. And so that's my explanation for it. And in a critique, that's a discussion.
I definitely agree on that. Yeah.
And I was right, because...
Well, the biggest thing to keep in mind is it's not a debate. It's a discussion when it comes to critiquing.
And they're questioning things. And that's the point. They want to, if someone's asking a question, they don't know. They don't know the situation. And they ask, and that's the same thing I do with critiques. I'm like, I don't know if you had more room behind you. But if you did,
here's what I would do.
Here's another thing you could try. And so that was good. So I'm going to send him the images that I took in his stadium. I did shoot the second day with Manny. We did get down there at 4 p.m., right before batting practice. Manny's pass was waiting for him perfectly, no problems.
Nice.
We went in. We went down to the field. We went on the field. You have to stay on the warning track. You're not allowed to touch the tarp or get on the grass. We walked out towards the outfield.
Never touch the grass.
Never touch the grass. Steven's grass either.
Get off my grass.
Steven's that guy. Steven sent me an aerial drone footage of his drone photo from his front lawn, and it's like,
it looks beautiful, right?
You look at the lawn to the left and the lawn to the right, you're like, these are shit. And then you see Stevens, and it's like bright green. He probably used Skittles on it.
No, dark green, man. It's all about the dark green.
Dark green with beautiful
that blue
stripes.
Green lawn. Yeah. Beautiful stripes, that domination line dominating those neighbors.
Oh, Jesus. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Steven's
in the lawn community.
Steven's a dominatrix in the lawn world.
Yes.
So the thing is, I see pop up on my YouTube feed all the time lawn videos because Steven is always logged in.
No. I now will watch it in either an incognito tab if I'm logged in under your account on the desktop, or on my phone I'm always logged in under my account, so it should never really show up. But there was definitely a couple months,
probably slipped through, Steven,
going back a few years, where all the stuff would come up in your feed and your recommended feed. Because I would be watching lawn videos at home.
That explains so much about what shows up in my feed, Steven.
Well, that's when I'm logged into your account, the Fronos Photo account, I always see bowling videos. It's always bowling and Cimarelli.
It's just bowling. There's a lot of bowling videos in mine.
Yeah. Yep.
Lots of bowling. So yesterday when we shot, Manny and I were on the field, and I'm walking towards the outfield, and one of the players starts yelling at me, and he's like, What conditioner do you use? I'm like, he's like, what do you use? I'm like, it's called Euphora. He's like, hey, come on out here to the field. And I'm like, I'm not allowed on the grass.
Yeah.
And I say that, and he's like, it's cool. Dude, this is the nicest grass ever. Oh my God. No wonder why they don't want.
Have you been to my lawn?
It's nicer than your lawn. I went onto this great dude. You would have been on your knees like putting your hand over the top of the blades, being like, oh, it's the perfect thickness. Oh, it's the perfect feel.
I'm just envisioning it now.
Dude, I should have taken a really close up picture for you. But anyway, I go out on the field. It was one of the pitchers. I don't remember Michael. I don't remember his name. Michael Givens. I remembered his name. I didn't know his name. I asked him like, "Hey, I'm Jared," and he's like, "I'm Michael." Like, I don't know if he expected me to know who he was. Givens, Cubs. Oh, I typed in Cups. The Cubs.
So how was Manny? Because he's not technically really a sports shooter, right?
No, he's not. But I
told him, difficult to kind of get thrown into a genre that you're not used to.
Well, it's like you could borrow some lenses. Then I realized he brought Sony. He brought a Sony A1. So he went out and he got a 100 to 400 that he borrowed for the game. 400 from where he was sitting down third base side was 400's the right thing. I wouldn't be using a slow lens. I would take a 400 2.8 all day, or
the 200 to 500 isn't bad with the Sony, right?
200 to 600. If anything, he should have got. I should have recommended the 200 to 600. I would have taken that instead. It's also a little darker stadium because of the way the lights are. It's different shooting there. The lights are lower in the stadium, meaning they're lower to the field. They're closer to the field because the stadium isn't as big as every other stadium.
And they look like older lights. They didn't look like LEDs to me because every single light kind of looked a little bit off.
Oh, they flickered quite a bit. I noticed it yesterday.
Oh, really?
There was a lot of flicker between images, and I have anti-flicker on. But yeah, so they call me out onto the field. Manny's taking video of it, so he's going to send us video of it. I didn't ask him to. He just did. Really, I was like, Manny, here's $5.
Film this, Manny.
Like, Manny, here's $5. Make sure you film anything cool that happens now. He did. He got
cool.
He filmed it, but unfortunately he shot 8K because he's testing out the 8K. I don't know why anybody's testing that, because Sony came out with a new firmware.
Oh yeah.
The other day, which is actually not really much other than the new firmware allows you to do small, medium,
10-bit,
and large.
RAW, right?
Yeah, but that's
and then 10-bit 422 and 8K, I think.
That's for video, but on the photo side, they now allow you to do uncompressed RAW, small, medium, and large.
How is that uncompressed?
Compressed, small, medium, and large.
Yeah,
which I haven't tried out.
Well, that's what Canon used to do.
Small C, or
they would do
Canon
small,
C.
medium, and large RAW, but I believe it was 12-bit compressed RAW when you would go into the small and medium, and then large was the full uncompressed 14-bit. But anyway, it was great for me because when I would do like stupid step and repeat photos that I didn't care about, that are throwaways, I wouldn't want to shoot JPEG, but I wouldn't want to fully fill up my memory card with these large RAW files, so I would do small RAW, and it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still getting 14 or 16 megapixel images at the end of the day, so they weren't bad.
Yeah. I wouldn't personally do it, especially in this. I mean, yeah, it's a 100 megabyte file every time you do it, but
this is also going back, I'm talking 10
years.
12 years when these hard drives were 500 gigabytes max.
Can I see any of those photos on your website? This portion is not brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto. Steven was going to get a website.
Throws it in my face almost every day. Oh, is that on your website?
Well, next
are
it's
those
going to be
pictures on your website.
Is Bernie done yet? You know, that's
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Manny's Manny. Manny's a quiet guy. Manny's different than on camera.
I love Manny.
You know, I love Manny too because he's more introverted than me. So I'm the one that's out there talking, and he's, you know, the players are talking. I'm out on the field. They're stretching. Well, the one guy goes like, "What are you?
What are you?"
he was trying to get at. He basically was like, "What ethnicity are you?" He basically was getting at that. It was a black guy, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm Jewish." He's like, "I knew it." And one of the other team players he's like, "Did you just ask him what he is?" And like, it's like him saying this to you. I'm like, "Yeah, I wouldn't say that to you." I wouldn't.
It's got to be funny hearing these behind the scenes conversations, stuff that they would probably never say during a live interview.
No, it's fun. I mean, these are kids. You know, you got 20 somethings. They're in their 20s and 30s.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I'm older than these guys, but it's awesome when you become part of it, when they ask you questions and they call you out, and I'm cool. Like, I like hanging out, and these guys are there. And
did they comment on Walmart Drake's sweet ass beard?
No, but
fresh lines.
But when the guy came over, I was like, "This is my buddy, you know, Manny. He lives in Chicago." So I introduced Manny. You know, I don't want to. You know, it's kind of like that time.
These were Cubs players you were talking to,
the Cubs
right?
players, kind of like the time you got introduced to Bernie Sanders, except this time, Mandy got to pound it out with the guy.
For those not realizing what Jared is talking about, there was a time I met Bernie, and our buddy was introducing us to him, and he's like, "This is Jared," and then Jared shakes his hand, and "This is Steven," and I go to put my hand out, and Bernie just turns around and keeps walking. just completely dismisses me, and I'm like, okay. I did
Hello,
the whole
very
like,
good.
let me pretend I'm like fixing my hair with my hand.
Very good. Okay, very nice. Nice to meet you. Very good. That he was thinking about some. At that time,
I don't think he even heard. I don't think he realized that I was another shooter there that he wasn't used to.
Yeah, it was also. I remember they were having a discussion about something after that in that mall.
It was mid-discussion.
They were talking about something else, so he was focused on
something serious. Yeah.
What mittens to wear to the inauguration if he won. So yeah, yesterday it was 97 degrees out there, but thankfully we stayed on the shady side because in the sunny side it was super hot. But yeah, Manny had a great time. Well, my favorite part is actually talking to the other photographers. So going upstairs to the press area where they have lunch, where they were serving dinner. I went up there with Manny and we sit down at the table, and then another photographer sits down and starts talking. He's like, I see your videos. He said that to me, and he's like, Manny, I've seen some of your videos. And they start talking, and it's
what are the cameras of choice for most of these press photographers?
That's a good question, Steven. So the first night I was shooting in this small, tight area by the field, I was sandwiched by Nikon shooters, which they were like the only two. Actually, there was more. They loved you. It was insane. Well, the one guy's using a Z9.
Okay.
With adapted glass, he had a 200 to 180 to 400 on there. That f4 with the TC.
Yeah.
I posted a photo that he took of me. So if you're looking for a photo of where I was squeezed in at, there's a photo on my Instagram where you see it, and the photographer who took it, he actually sent me a screen grab of all the followers he was getting after I tagged him in it.
Oh, he got the fro bump.
Yeah, he went and he showed me that. But yeah, he was shooting a Z9. The guy to the right of me was shooting like a Z7, unfortunately, for some stuff, and he had a D5 for other.
Isn't the frame rate really low on the Z7?
I mean, you could get 8 or 12 if you did that other mode, but it's not even. We know we're not.
Is that an AFC though?
Yeah, we're not worried about the frame rate. It's not the frame rate in that camera that sucks. You know that.
Well, yeah,
and that's great quality. Like the Z7.
I'm just saying for sports though, you need a combination of both focus and frame rate.
And speed. And that camera has neither. Either. Tomato. Potato.
Yep.
It's cold outside. That's a song. It's a song. Potato, tomato. It's like from the 30s.
I know
40s.
what you're talking about.
You do?
Yes.
So anyway, we're upstairs. We're talking. The AP guys, the Tribunes and different. Oh, Chicago Tribune, right? Remember that?
Aren't they?
Oh yeah. I forgot about all that. But
we
the
did
one guy,
photo news story on that years back.
One guy was shooting. He had a Sony A9 II.
They're all Sony, right?
I think most of the people out there were
AP?
Sony. Yeah, I did not see. I don't even think I saw Canons out there. It's a lot of Sony. There's a lot of Sony out there for the agencies.
I mean, you had the A9 and then the A1. They had a big jump start.
The funny thing is, I'm talking to this one guy. I'm going to look up his name. I almost called him Coochie. His name is... the one guy who took pictures was Quinn. That was the guy who took a picture of me. And
I saw the photo of you.
Yeah, the guy Quinn took it.
Your guns weren't looking that big, but...
Your guns were fucking awesome in that photo. Nuccio, Denuzio. So it's Nuccio Denuzio. He's
not Italian.
Yeah, he's super Italian. I was told, oh yeah, he goes back to the Chicago Bull era, dynasty. He was there shooting all the stuff
90s.
there that he was shooting in the 90s. So he has all of that stuff. It doesn't
Very
look like
cool.
he posts very often. His last post was May 1st of 2021.
So he's like me.
Yeah, he doesn't post a lot, but I heard he's like,
How's his website?
he doesn't really need it because he's always posting. But he's like, are you guys able to, are you selling any Sony stuff? Because he was trying to figure out how he could get some stuff because they wanted a 70 to 200. He couldn't get it. No one. They have it on back order at Adorama, and they want some other stuff. Yeah, the new one. And I'm like, you don't have a contact? Like you don't have a Sony contact for this stuff? Like they don't give you someone to talk to? I'm like, hold on. And I get out I send a message to our guy in DC who works the White House and all that area who getting stuff. And I'm like, can I connect you to see what help you can give? I didn't promise anything, but I'm like, maybe you could facilitate helping get this gear because this is what this guy does. And so I send him the page and he sends back. He's like, well, I guess anybody that's followed by 25 people that I follow, photographer wise, is the real deal. And this guy is the real deal. Been around a long time. And I didn't realize he follows my stuff. He follows Manny's stuff, and it was cool. We had great conversations
That's cool.
Yeah, well, the cool part is that all these other photographers they watch what we do on the internet, and they look to us for information, which is interesting. They're the real deal working full-time photographers, transmitting in between innings and all of that. And
I mean, what's mind-blowing that I have to always tell myself is, okay, a video only got 40, 50, 60,000 views. That might be not a lot compared to what we normally get or what we hope to get, say 100,000. But that's probably more people that were in the stadium that night when you were photographing.
It is more people.
I mean,
they only had 30,000.
You don't think about it as a tangible physical number. You just think of it as a number. But in reality, 50, 60,000 people, that's a lot of eyes on one video.
Yeah.
You add that up for how many views you get the rest of the week, and it's we get a lot of people watch our stuff.
There's a lot of eyeballs. I had a bunch of people come up and say, I bought this camera because of you. And then the one guy said, I bought my Z6 because of you. And I said, sorry. But then I was like, no, I'm not sorry.
At the time, that was a different type of review. There was only Sony having the IAF and that kind of autofocus system. Canon still had to catch up.
Yeah.
That was a decent camera for the time. But moving forward a few years, obviously the Z6 was incredibly outdated compared to the competition. Anyway, but back to eyes on videos, that's why I'm so particular about reviews when we do them, to make sure we don't half-ass a lot of things, because people will make their purchasing decision off of that video.
I agree.
And you can't just wing it and phone it in.
Circa
Right,
2011, Jared.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up the Chicago part, because we got to move on to something you wanted to talk about. Steven wants to talk about his sister, and then we'll get into some of the news things, and then a couple of listener questions.
Yeah, so my sister, she has a newborn now who is 1 month old as of today. His name is Cole, my nephew, and she is now trying to take photos of him and only owns an iPhone.
Big mistake.
And now she's basically debating, do I want to get a more expensive camera or do I want to stick with an iPhone? And my first question is always, for the people that have never really taken photos or don't know anything about photography, do you really think you're going to go through the process of bringing this camera around everywhere, not fitting it in your pocket, transferring images, raw photos, editing them if you are doing raw, organizing all the photos, trying to then post them or transfer them to your phone from your computer?
You're making this sound too hard. I'm quitting.
So, I mean, it becomes a whole debate, and I've always had this discussion with my brother and other sister, who always constantly ask me for camera advice, and I'm like, do you really think you're going to use it? They say yes, and what ends up happening is what I expect. They just end up going back to their phone every time, because for the most part, it's in your pocket at all times. It's right there, and boom.
Steven, hold on. I got one hand in my pocket and the other's hailing a taxi cab.
So now the debate is, she threw out a number of $1,500, which is a pretty good budget for, say, an entry-level decent camera.
What's she do for a living?
Well, my brother-in-law is actually the one that threw out that number, but so now they're debating, do they want to spend the money on a decent camera? And I think the only camera that I can think of, or cameras, would be either something along the line of like a Sony A6400 or A6600 body only, or an R10, which both of those cameras are around, say, $700 to $900 for the body only, and then save the rest for decent glass, which on the Sony side, you've got a ton of glass to pick from APS-C wise. And it's a lot cheaper. And you've got third-party Sigma, Tamron. You've got like the 31.4. You've got all of those kind of lenses that will be like 50 millimeter equivalents. And again, you're looking at like a 1.4 lens, which, in reality, you're looking at more like equal out to be like a 2.8 on an APS-C body. So I'm debating, do I send her for the R10, where there's really not many lenses like that just yet? Or do we steer her to the Sony system? Or do I just say stick with your iPhone?
What about a Z50, Steven?
There is the Z50 as well, but
it can't autofocus. We're the dick.
That's the issue, is she's definitely going to heavily rely on IAF, face detection, that kind of stuff. And I guarantee they're not really going to use a viewfinder, so that's not a big concern for me, even though these cameras do come with viewfinders. I'm just being realistic. And I'm sure a lot of people...
What would you do, Steven? What would you do if you were at a wedding and you saw someone taking photos without using the EVF? Would you go over there and say something to them?
I don't care at all what they're doing at somebody else's wedding.
It's funny. My friend that I met, she was at a wedding and she was sending me back commentary about the photographers, and not in a bad way. She was just commenting on what they were shooting with and how they were shooting, and I thought it was kind of funny.
I do find it interesting, but but without steering too far away from this, when people they hold the camera up and not use the viewfinder, and they're almost like doing touch to focus and stuff like that. It's like, come on, you're a professional photographer. Use the EVF. At least give me some 3-point stabilization with your elbows and everything.
Or in my case,
the EVF. The tripod, right?
Fourth leg.
But yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people listening have this constant debate when friends and family ask them, hey, I have $1,000, I have $500, I have $1,500. This is my budget. I've never taken a picture in my life without my phone. Should I upgrade? Should I buy a brand new camera system? Do you think I'll use it? Like, do I offer different lenses? Do I really think they're going to be switching lenses?
My take.
Do I tell them to go with a kit 24 to 120?
Yeah. My take on this, I cannot recommend the Sony at this point. I just can't recommend the Sony right now. And yeah, you're right. Those lenses are great.
A lot more lens options, yeah.
There are, but dude, I mean, the truth is they're just going to go point and shoot shit. But the problem is I just don't like that body at all. The feel of the body. The technology in the body is fantastic. The autofocus, the lens choices, but the EVF sucks ass. The LCD screen sucks ass. They don't have flip out rotatable for that.
They don't. What I am looking at right now, though, is some of the third-party options for the Sony system. Like they have a 16mm Sigma f1.4 for Sony E, which would be a 24mm equivalent. They've got a 31.4 for the Sony E system, which would be a 45mm equivalent. 56 1.4, which would be like an 85mm equivalent. So, and these are all like $300 lenses.
They are
$250.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Canon on the other side, they have, say, their 50-1.8. That's actually that's cheap. That's
$179.
But sale. The Canon 35-1.8, which would be like a 50mm equivalent, is $450.
What are the shitty lenses that they had for us? The shitty RF.
So they've got the 18 to 45 RFS, the 4.5 to 6.3 IS STM lens. That's $300. And then they got the 18 to 150 3.5 to 6.3 RFS, which is $500 and would be like a 20 or 30 millimeter to 240 millimeter equivalent. But again, you're looking at then probably like an F8 equivalent background blur.
They don't give a fuck.
But the thing is, people do now because you have the computational foca, fake bokeh on these phones, which they prefer. So my sister, I got her to start photographing in her phone using Lightroom Mobile, RAW photos. But what she now does not like is the fact that you can't get that fake bokeh blur in a RAW photo on the phone. I did end up giving her the Fronos Photo presets.
Wait a second. Nancy, Steven is stealing from...
I still made her pay for it. No,
Steven stole presets.
So
no raise.
The issue is she does not have an actual paid Adobe account, so we had to figure out a workaround to get her the presets onto a free Lightroom Mobile account. And it's a very weird workaround where you have to basically make a JPEG in Lightroom, apply the preset to it, export as a DNG, and then send her those DNGs, which she then imports and then basically copies and creates a preset for herself. And she's just copying those settings from the JPEG, basically the preset. And it's a pain in the ass, but it did work, and it's funny someone like her who knows nothing about photography actually uses Lightroom and presets to edit her photos. I am curious how many people out there use Lightroom Mobile, but
I don't know, man.
Anyway, that's my story.
What do you guys think Steven's sister should get?
Yeah.
I would have no problem with her getting the Sony with some glass that you suggest. I have no problem with it. I always have to remember she's not going to want to become a professional. She just wants to take pictures of her kids. I just think that the Canon, I think the Sony body actually feels better. The Sony body feels like it's built better, even though it feels like shit in the hands because there's no grip.
The R10 feels like shit in the hands too. It's a tiny camera.
Well, the R10 feels plastikier. So what I'm saying is the Sony feels built better.
Correct. Now the other debate is, do we go old school and we give her a DSLR like a D3500, which was always my recommendation because it's $500.
Well, the truth is, Steven,
get a bunch of lenses.
We might as well move into that photo news story because that's part of it. What you just said is Nikon discontinued the D3000. I mentioned this on Photo News Fix. They discontinued the D3000 series and the D5000 series, which was it was bound to happen. And I brought up how I just absolutely love. Though I like the 5600 camera,
Me too.
That range because
that was a great sweet spot.
The 3000 was the shitty of the shitty, but it did a good job.
For the price, $500 for the kit lens too. for the combo kit. That was great.
The problem is, Steven, they're so used to looking at LCD screens. I would just recommend that you tell your sister, you train her right. You train your sister right to put her eye up to the viewfinder. I want to make sure
she does not use the EVF and sticks it out and just presses the screen and
that is
stabilization
horrible.
Off.
I don't think it's a bad idea to find a used, at this point, Nikon DSLR for super cheap. I still recommend those Nikon DSLRs, and you can get a bunch of glass for that and get away with it without a problem.
Yeah, just like you said, it's hard. It's hard for what they're used to now with the phone for them to not see the image in real time, like in live view or something like that. So I feel like I should not steer her in the way of a DSLR at this point.
We posed that question to you guys. You could text us 313 blah 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 710-9729 313-710-9729
and or Instagram me, DM me. It's at @S_Eckert. I can use some more followers.
Okay, Steven. And try to show them your grass.
Yeah. Well, that's my separate account. That's my private account.
So we'll get into the photo news part of this. We'll try to actually blow through this because they're not huge stories to discuss. I kind of filled them in on Photo News Fix. And sometimes we'll have more detail, going deeper. I actually liked our discussion that we had earlier. We'll just go in with Nikon discontinued those two cameras. It was bound to happen. And I loved I bought the D3000 for the super secret project years and years ago. And that was
the ruby red one that we have?
No, at the time the D3000.
What's the red one?
That's a D3300.
That's it, yeah.
That was D3300. The D3000, I actually tried to take it apart when the Olympus guy came for us to scan. I was going to try and get the sensor out of it, and I fucked that up. Not that I care, but the D3000 was a great teaching tool, and that D5000 series was awesome. It was a great step up. It just felt like a better camera. It was a really cool place to be. Other news stuff quickly. Leica is being Leica for a change, and they decided to release 250 titanium cameras with a titanium 50mm lens, and it's only $20,000.
Oh, only 20 grand?
Yeah, 20 grand. Only 250 of those. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, with my raise, I mean, I should be able to afford it.
Steven, you could buy that.
I'm not spending 20 grand on a friggin' camera.
Because you're not a doctor or a lawyer.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons you're not going to do that.
No.
There's not much to talk about here. I rather get to the user questions. The listener questions.
The R100, transitioning from that discussion about the DSLRs being dead, that's what they need now. This R100 that is supposedly coming out, according to Canon rumors. That is will that be their next Rebel line in the RF lineup? Because they do need that $500 price point camera.
Well, but how do you get cheaper than the R10? Like, could you imagine?
The R10's $980. It's not that cheap.
How do you get cheaper feeling than the R10? Because that's...
Keep in mind, though, the R10 is still shooting 15 frames a second mechanical, 26 frames a second electronic. I mean, it's still a beefy camera.
Like, I don't know how they drop the price even further. I don't know what they take out of it. I guess maybe speed.
They get rid of the EVF, I would think.
Oh, no.
That's going to save a ton of...
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No.
I would think.
No. How do you get rid of I get it, but don't get rid of EVFs.
They're probably going to use a recycled sensor.
I have no problem with a recycled sensor from a M50 Mark II.
I'm sure they'll drop the frame rate down to 8 frames a second or something,
which is perfectly fine for people.
Yeah.
My D2H did 8 frames a second and was $3,600 back in 2002.
But they really still need that $500 price point, because that is the question I'm always asked. What can I buy for $500? And I just say basically nothing as of right now. Use your iPhone.
Yeah, that's true. No point in shoots. They're dead. They're gone. And cell phones replace
especially
those.
If you have a newer iPhone. I mean, the older one's a little rough, but the iPhone 13... Especially if you're shooting RAW and Lightroom Mobile, it takes a great photo.
It does, but it still sucks.
Low light still sucks. Yeah.
It still sucks. It's like... You try to put, it's like, oh, look, I'm not even close to anything.
But I guess what I'm saying is the quality, you're not benefiting that much by buying a separate camera for $500.
No, not those people.
At that point.
Not those people. All right, Steven, I want to get to listener questions, LISTNER, listener questions, as I wrote.
Oh, listener. Is that how you spell it?
Well, no. I don't see very well, so when I'm typing, I can't tell when I make a mistake all the time. Also and it doesn't actually have a red line under it because I did it all in capitals. So I don't know why it didn't pick it up as being an issue. But let's get into listener questions. These listener questions were sent in to 313-710-9729. And I went through.
First caller.
I'm Dr. Fraser Crane, and I'm listening. Here's a question. My question/topic is, and this is from Jack Stenerson. No, it just says Stenson. I'm sitting back and reading this.
No, it says Stenerson.
No, it doesn't.
It says Jace Stenerson.
Wait, what did I fucking call them?
You just called him Jack Stenson.
It says Jace Stenner.
You called him Jack Stenson.
It does say Stenerson. Okay.
Yes.
Let me make this a little bigger. I can't read. Shut up, Steven. I'm blind.
I'm curious how many names you butchered on RAWtalk, because I would never see the questions. You would have them printed out in your hands.
Nike, my question topic, how do you personally deal with the negative thoughts toward you? Oh, I only ask for thoughts and prayers. Towards you, hate comments in parentheses, accusations, etc., particularly when being blamed for something such as Nikon bashing. Hope you have a great night. Jared.
Story of your life, man.
Jace Stenerson.
Jack Stenson.
Jack Stenson. In general, I don't care what other people have to say about it.
The only time you care is if they comment on your physique, if they comment on your body.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's what makes you go crazy.
Yeah. Besides
that, you're like a brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, people are always going to talk as they're always going to talk, because that's just what they do, and they everything we do is based off of real world experience, and in our opinion, what we'd like to it's in our opinion. It's not facts, but it's in our opinion, in our professional real world usage of using certain things. I'm going to give you my opinion, and whether that's Nikon is great or Nikon is failing here, or Canon is great or Canon is failing, or Sony is great and Sony is failing, you're going to get the real deal no matter what. And when you get the real deal, when you give it, people are going to hate you. And that's just the nature of the beast. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? As my dad used to say, it's better to have 50% of the people love you, 50% of the people hate you, than have 100% of the people not give a shit. So, and the people that hate you still watch you, which is always lovely. But you get further with no, fuck that. Get further with positivity. Well, who am I? What am I, fucking Gary Vaynerchuk? What am I talking about? Empathy? No.
Who are you?
You don't punch down. That's always been the old adage. You never punch down. You just don't punch down. Punching down means you're giving light to other people that just want to steal your light, which is exactly what I did when I started YouTube. I went after Ken Rockwell legitimately because he was saying RAW was terrible and JPEG was
like
the
a
way.
Little firecracker.
I went after him, but also when there was the British guy who I thought didn't do good content, I decided to befriend him, and that's why I got a big following in Europe first, a bigger, not big, because I went and got on his show and we had discussions and we worked together, and that's how I started to build. But the thing is that, a lot of people can talk. They can talk shit about what you do, and my suggestion to everybody is if you think you can do better, you have the tools at your disposal to try. Try. I encourage anybody who hates me to try doing what we do. Try to make it a success. And the crazy thing is, the people talk about, are we paid off? Are we all this? Are we all that? And it's like, you run a business. You try to figure this out. I want to see you do it. And what happens is when people start to get some success, they finally realize what you're doing. And now that they're at that level, they're like, oh,
and they
Jesus.
do the same thing.
Well, they realize it, right? And they start to get to the point.
Business and
Yeah, and saying it's a business doesn't mean that we're getting paid off to do stuff.
No, but what I mean is they then can be like, can I quit my job?
Right.
Can I continue this as a career path?
Right, because this isn't a hobby.
I need to sustain it and make money.
This has never been a hobby for me. It turned, as I've said a million times, and if you haven't heard it before, I started YouTube with the hopes that I would put out content that showcased my work in the hopes that I would get more photo jobs. And in the first 12 years, that didn't happen, right? I didn't get jobs from it. I got questions. And that's why I just continued on. And that's the nature of it. But at some point you realize that this has potential to be the real deal and to be a business, and you figure it out. And then other people along the way, because a lot of people tried copying what I was doing. Back in 2010 and 11, I was putting out a video a day. I was doing a video every single day. I was doing weird shit, running around backyards. people tried to copy and they've disappeared along the way.
And regarding the negative comment thing, I think the one issue that really gets me is every time we put out a brand new camera review or preview or whatever it may be, where literally there's only maybe us and a couple other publications that had hands-on with the camera or actual real-world usage, when they try to tell you didn't use it right or that
I would have done it
and it's
this
like,
way.
Did you use the camera? Do you know anything about the camera? Have you ever played with it? You have no idea how we shot a certain thing or if we screwed up and used the wrong setting or something like that. That's what gets me.
Yeah. And to that point, we use all the gear. So we use all the different camera brands. And so when I share information, it's based off of real world experience, using all the brands and taking all of that experience and knowledge and saying, here's what I liked about this because it did X where the other didn't do Y. Next question. Yeah. Corpus Christi, Texas. Good thing it's not Chris Christie. Oh, it's Chris from Corpus Christi, Texas, not Chris Christie. When you travel for pleasure, do you pack a full-frame camera, ? I'd be interested in hearing whether you can separate yourself from being a pro on vacation and the gear you tag along. And I should say take along. My answer to that is no, I can't separate the two. It's very difficult for me. Well, except when I went to Italy, I took the ZFC as my camera, but I also took an A1. I also took an A1 to Italy.
But you ended up liking the ZFC photos more, I believe, right?
Well, yeah, because I was locked into focusing.
You used it more.
I used it more, and that photo over the canals, the main canal, the Grand Canal in Venice, was done with the ZFC and the kit lens, and it just looks fantastic. It's just because that's
the 16 to 50 kit lens, right?
It. Like I've always said, no one's going to look at the picture and be like, was this the A1 or the ZFC? Because it doesn't matter. A good picture is a good picture is a good picture. So I don't, look, as long as I have a quote-unquote real camera in my hands with some lenses, I'm happy to take that on the road. I haven't taken a vacation because I don't really vacation. I bought the 35 to 150 Tamron as to be the one lens to rule them all when you go away. If I had to take one, it would be I would take an A1 because I can, and I'd take the 35 to 150 and from Tamron, and that would give me a lens. 2 to 2.8, and I could do super everything versatile. And more. What would you do?
Well, see, he says, how did he word it? The full frame part. He said, do you pack a full frame camera? Now, is he saying, do you specifically pack a full frame camera, or do you bring like a smaller camera? Is that what he's saying, or is he just saying, do you pack a camera at all?
I think he's trying to say, do you separate yourself from being a pro? He's probably saying, do you take a real camera or do you take a shitty camera?
Like now, I think of like a shittier camera being like an RX 100 Mark 5 or 6 or whatever it may be that I can stick in my pocket. Which personally, I would prefer if when we go to Disney next week, I'll probably take that because I can just stick it in my pocket, take some quick raw photos. Not really worry about it being, in the way.
Did you put that on the list to check out from the shipping department?
The A1, it's such a small camera, and you can get smaller lenses. I mean, it doesn't really matter anymore, size and weight, when it comes to bringing a pro camera versus a entry level, small point and shoot. Then again, you can fit in your pocket, but
so what? You want to take a Sony with the 15, 35 to 150?
So we have, don't we have the ZV-1 still, or do we send that back?
We don't have the ZV-E10. We may have the ZV-1. We may have the
ZV-1 is essentially the RX 100 Mark 5, I believe, because it has the built-in ND filter.
But it doesn't have a long lens.
Correct. It has the 24 to 72.8, not the 24 to 120 or whatever it is, f4.
You can take whatever you want.
I don't know what I'll bring.
You can take whatever you want.
Or do I just use my phone?
I don't know.
Now, then again, I got a really cool picture last time with the RX 100 riding one of the rides with Nicole, and I actually took it out and took like a selfie of us, but I used the variable ND and put it in a slow shutter speed, so you have the whole ride blurred out behind us and then us frozen in motion. But I would never be able to do that on a phone, most likely.
Well, there's apps. There's apps.
Yeah, but it still wouldn't look as good because I had the raw photo and it really brightened it up after and came out really nice. Actually, we have it framed in our house.
We're moving on to John Finnery. I'll get to that other half of that question. I think I'll save that for next week. Hey, man, just had $16,000 of gear stolen. Sad face emoji. Yeah, I know. I should have used my Gear Vault. The gear stolen was an R5, the Holy Trinity zooms, RFs, RF 51.2 and some filters. I hope he wasn't an asshole. John, were you an asshole? Did you leave this shit in your car and get it stolen? I don't know if he did. I don't think he did. But how did you get it stolen? I'd like to actually know that.
Yeah.
He says $16,000
worth
in
of gear. Oh.
And he goes, anyway, since I'll be starting from scratch, I guess it would be a good time to give Sony a chance if I ever was going to. I've always been intrigued, but familiarity with Canon ecosystem kept me with them. Mainly a still shooter, but need video as well. Would probably go the A1 route if I did switch. Should I give into the temptation of something fresh and exciting or stick with the status quo? First off, Canon is far from the status fucking quo. You had an R5 with all of that amazing RF glass. I think you're barking up the wrong tree thinking about switching to something else right at this point, personally.
Yeah.
I'd stick with a Canon. I mean, if you're going to get an A1, you might as well get an R3 or go back to your R5. If you just shoot and Steven, tell them what you do for video here at the studio. Yes, Steven.
We use Canon for video. I typically don't shoot log 99.9% of the time just because of our fast turnaround, and we usually have the lighting set properly enough where I can use a neutral picture style and shoot that way. And I love all the Canon glass, especially the 28-70 if I'm running and gunning for f2, even though it is a 95mm filter thread for a giant ND. Yeah, it's my go-to. I use the R5 for both stills and video personally, and the R5 really doesn't overheat for us in the studio most of the time if we keep it at a decent temperature. So it's not really ever a problem for us.
Yeah, and right now it's not a decent temperature in here, Steven, because I have the air
No,
off.
There would be probably a good chance of it overheating currently.
After 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that I'm in there heating up the room too.
It's about 80. It's probably about 80 in here. It only cooled down 2 degrees when I got here when I turned it down. But yeah, no, dude, John, I mean, given to the temptation, I think the temptation was 2 years ago. If you didn't already have an R5, you're not going to miss much you're not gaining much by going to Sony right now. A7 R4 and a bunch of like the holy trinity of lenses on the Canon side is amazing. I would not be jumping ship.
You're spending another $3,000 just for the A1, basically, especially if you get a grip. So, I mean, that's $7,000 just for the body.
I'd either go the R5 route, or if you can afford it and you want an R3, but R5 is like the ultimate all-around photo, video style camera.
I do agree. I think it is it is probably in my eyes, the ultimate hybrid camera currently on the market for the price. And the A1, I mean, does he need a stack sensor? That's a different story. If he's shooting sports or something like that, he needs the frame rate.
You could still get away with it, dude, with the R5.
You can, yeah, for the most part.
12 frames a second, dude. 12 frames a second, yeah. Mechanical.
I mean, even with the 20, we've still shot a lot of sports with that, and it's not terrible.
And 12 is plenty. Jesus
it's
Christ.
pretty fast readout. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Ron Bryam, Bryam. Hey, Jared, opinion. I have a fellow photographer that photos rodeos. She went to an event and a photographer was there, not under contract with the org, taking pictures. That photographer got mad saying my friend was taking business away from them and wanted their photos. I told friend not to worry. She had the okay from the owners. Have you ever had issues like this? Would you tell them to FO? Steven, what's FO?
I think he meant to say fro, but he forgot the R.
Yeah, so would you tell them to fuck off? The funny thing is, my whole thing, I was out to dinner with this friend, and I must have said, she's asking questions about photography, and I'm like, yeah, my answer's fuck off to most things. It really is. It's gotten to the point with fuck off. To the bank, tell the bank to fuck off. The mortgage companies, you don't need that shit. Fuck off. Leave me alone. But one, is this a sexist thing? Would the guy have said that to a man? Would he have said, I need your photos if it was a man saying that to another male photographer? Or because it's a woman, does he think he can push her around and intimidate her if it is a male photographer that was the other photographer? Generally, I would think it's another male photographer because usually they're the assholes more so than women. But, I mean, the photographer got mad saying that my friend was taking business away from them. Well, one, the other person didn't have permission and this person had permission. So they're in the right. They have permission, but wanted their photos. I mean, one, you're not me. Fuck off. You're not taking my pictures.
See, the only issue that I run into when it comes to having two photographers is if you are taking group photos or something like that where people are staring at the camera, the eye line then gets thrown off. Like, which camera am I looking at? That's what annoys me when I'm shooting an event and I'm the one actually taking the photos and you have people in the background with their phones or something and you got eyes going everywhere, not knowing where to look.
For this, it feels like she's shooting a rodeo.
But if this is a photojournalistic thing, obviously, being a rodeo, it shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter at all. So in these situations, you try to be nice.
I mean, you've shot weddings on the side. You know, even my wedding, you showed up with the R3, and the main photographer was obviously taking photos, but you stayed away in your seat taking photos at the ceremony.
Yeah, I did.
Do you ever have an issue with that? With anyone ever come up to you while you're taking photos?
Are you leading the witness right now, Stephen?
A little bit.
Are you leading the witness? Recently, when I went to my Miami wedding, I had my R3 because I guess that goes to the question when I'm traveling and on vacation. This is a harping back to the last question. Do I dumb it down and not take the good gear? Well,
you're going big all day.
I dumbed it down to go to the wedding. I took an R3, a 28 to 70, and I took the 70 to 200.
That's quite dumbing it down.
I dumbed it down. That's what I took with me. And I think there was some confusion where the second photographer, the second shooter, they're under contract to be the only photographer there, professional, right?
Yeah,
shooting the wedding. I am a guest, and the friend that I was with, I was arm candy, as I said before. Her parents asked me to get a couple of photos of the family together off to the side and stuff like that. And that's when I think the other photographer didn't realize that I'm a guest. No, I'm not, I'm not there to take your photos away. And when I'm shooting, I stay out of the way. And I actually said to the main photographer, I'm like, yeah, hey, I'm here as a guest. I'm just taking a couple of pictures. I'm out of the way. And she's like, the more the merrier. So I think there was a little disconnect going on between the two of them and whatnot. But I did have another photographer get upset with me about the fact that I was taking pictures and said, in essence, I was taking away from their livelihood.
See, I don't think that's the case at all because they already got paid for the job.
Right, but
They're
their
already
point, the point that this photographer was making, this other YouTube photographer who also takes wedding pictures and is a woman, and I'm going to have her on to have this discussion.
What are you talking about?
Vanessa Joy. We discussed it. I also didn't lead with the other photographer said it was okay, so she got more offended because she makes a living off of selling the images after the fact. Her concern, and I told her after we had this conversation, I then sent her a message and I'm like, I totally
that's what she's referring to is the
reselling
after the fact
of that, and saying that if I take a picture and then they end up not buying another picture because they have my professional picture, then that's taking money. And I told her, I'm like, I
could see that.
I can see that. Like, I came to the realization I could see that. I also think that's far-fetched in most situations, and I don't think I was taking food out of the photographer's mouth because they got paid to be there. And I don't know if they were selling the images after the fact anyway. And I'm staying out of the way. And the other photographer said it's fine. Vanessa
I know
Joy.
with my wedding photographer, everything was bundled together, so I didn't have to worry about buying anything additional or after the fact.
Dude,
so
I should have
charged.
I should have charged her a rental fee for your wedding.
Oh, using the 28 to 70.
Using the
F2.
28 to 70 F2 that I let her use.
Yep.
I didn't even let her. I was like, hey, here's a lens for your R6. Use it for the wedding.
Did she even ask? I think you literally just took it off the camera and was like, here.
I walked up to her and said, would you like to use this for the wedding? She's like, can I? I was like, yep. And she tried to give it back to me after the ceremony. And I'm like, nope. Keep using it for the other stuff. I don't feel like going into the other question. It's not as good, Stephen, as the other ones. I'm hot. I've got work to prepare
be like 82
for.
degrees in there.
It's probably about 82. You're right. It's probably up there.
God.
You wouldn't, and I don't have my water, but I got a lot to do. I got to put up RAWtalk. That's what I got to go finish doing. Then I got to edit
Photo News Fix. You said RAWtalk.
Fucking, I got to post Photo News Fix, which I actually recorded before I went to Chicago. And thankfully there wasn't any news that debunked all the other news stories that I did. So it was a smart move to get it done beforehand.
Well, you were debating on going to Manny's studio and using his teleprompter and filming on location, which I think would have been a nightmare for you.
It would have been a
because
nightmare.
Your eyes are so blurry. We have a 50. What do we have? A 30-inch
27,
teleprompter?
27 downstairs and 32 upstairs.
And keep in mind, those are meant to be read like 50 feet away, and we have them about 8 feet away.
I'm about 8 feet away at 138 point text.
And meanwhile, I think Manny has like an 8-inch teleprompter.
No, he's got one an iPad and then one's the Parrot, and the Parrot uses an iPhone.
You're looking at a 6-inch one and maybe a 12-inch one, which you would have to be like a foot away.
I don't know. Would you rather have the 6-foot or the 12-inch one, Steven? The 6-inch or a 12-inch?
You tell me. We did use the Parrot one time traveling, if you recall.
Yeah, we used it at the Sony Kondo event.
And you had such an issue reading it, which I don't blame you. Your eyes are rough.
I was 3 feet from it.
I had to go fully wide, and I could still see the teleprompter in the actual shot. I had to crop in and post.
I just can't see.
Yeah, that was rough.
It's unfortunate.
I'm so thankful that we haven't been doing those types of events where it's like, here's the camera, here's all the information. It goes live now.
Well,
go upstairs in the hotel room.
We never did teleprompters for those. We only did teleprompters for the news. I would go
correct, but I'm saying we would be there for that event,
right?
And you'd have to do the news in the meantime.
Exactly. Guys, episode 3 right here. Text us 313-710-9729. What do you think? What hashtags do you have? What do you want to tell us? Send us messages. What questions do you have for episode 3? And make sure you say that you listened to episode 3 when you say, I like it. People have been saying, I've been listening to episode 3, and I'm like, awesome. Or episode 2. They're like, this is from episode 2. You said this.
Yeah.
Keep it up. And just, I didn't mention this last week. Steven cut it in. Fridays is when we plan on putting these out. So they should be up at midnight Fridays so that you can be ready Friday morning with it in your inbox. Subscribe wherever you subscribe so it could download it automatically so we can see the numbers.
Yeah, and we're looking at probably an hour 15 for this one. So do you guys prefer, hour
I don't
15,
care what they
30,
prefer,
or
Steven.
do you prefer an hour?
I don't care what they prefer. It's whatever it is going to be, it's going to be.
you just asked them all the other questions, and now you don't
I don't
want to
really
ask them
mean
this
it,
question?
Steven.
Sure.
I don't mean it. I'm an asshole.
Sure. I don't know. I kind of prefer that hour 15 sweet spot.
My take is anywhere from just around an hour. I think
an hour
to an hour 10.
Even an hour 30 I could do, but anything over that's a little bit much.
Well, the thing about hour 30 is I can get it done in 45 minutes at 2x speed.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. All right, guys. This has been episode 3. Steven, sign yourself off. You don't have a sign off, but do a something. Dance.
Steven Eckert. FroKnowsPhoto.com.
Steven, you don't have. Anyway, thank you guys very much for listening. This has been episode number 3 for the RAWtalk reboot type of thing. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.
See ya.
Steven, stop interrupting me. Bye.